welcome back. This is lesson 2.8. We are modeling mixed number division. For this lesson, you will need your red pen and your two highlighters as well. So, I will be able to correctly divide mixed numbers by modeling. Vocabulary for this lesson, we have fraction, numerator, the top of the fraction, denominator, the bottom of the fraction, equivalent fractions, which are fractions that are equal to each other but have different numerators and denominators, improper fraction, remember an improper fraction is a fraction with the numerator being larger than the denominator, and a mixed number, which means that you have a whole number and a fraction put together. Let's try this example. Milo lives 4 2/3 miles away from the school. There are 7 evenly spaced bus stops between his house and the school. How far apart is each bus stop? So if I'm going to color this in, that means I've got 4 complete miles. So I'm going to shade in 4 of these rectangles. Use the yellow one for this one. And then we have 2/3. So I'm going to cut this into thirds and shade 2 of them. So when we have 4 2/3, now we want to split that into 7 evenly spaced bus stops. Okay, so our equation is going to start out as 4 2/3. And then we want to break that into 7 equal sections. Okay, one thing that I want you to remember is that mixed numbers are only good for final answers. So let's turn this into an improper fraction. So 4 times 3, which is 12, plus 2 more, which is 14. So this is the same as 14/3 divided by into 7 groups. Now, by doing this, in our picture, we want to make all of these cut into thirds as well. So this is us turning our whole numbers into the improper fraction just by cutting them into thirds. We're not changing how much is shaded. We're just cutting them into pieces. Now that we have these pieces, we have 14 equal pieces. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. Now I want to split all these pieces into 7 equal groups. So this is where your red pen is going to come in handy on this one. If I want 7 equal groups, I can take 14 and divide it by 7 easily. 14 divided by 7 is 2, so I can put 2 of these pieces into each 2 groups. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And in each group I have 2 pieces, and it takes 3 to make the whole unit, so I have 2/3. So 4 2/3 split into 7 equal pieces gives me 2/3 in each group. Now, if this is a story problem, so this needs to have a label. It's 4 2/3 miles, so each one of these represents 2/3 of a mile. All right, let's try another example. Melina has 3 3/4 pounds of chicken. She is making bags that are 1 1/2 pounds each. How many bags can she fill? All right, so our equation starts with 3 3/4. We're dividing that into groups of 1 1/2. So in our picture, 3 3/4 means I need to shade 3 whole rectangles. There's 1 whole, 2 whole units, 3 whole units. And then I need 3/4. So I'm going to separate this into 4 equal pieces. I'm going to color 3 of them. Alright, remember that mixed numbers are only good for final answers, so let's make this improper. So 3 3/4. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 more would give me 15/4. By doing that, let's chop all of these up into fourths so they're all the same size pieces. Just turning my whole units into fourths. It doesn't change how much I have. Just separating them into pieces. So now I have 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15 fourths. And I want to divide this into, this is where it comes in handy to turn this also into a mixed number. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so 3 halves. Now on here, I don't have halves to break this into. So if I can turn this into an equivalent fraction, I do have fourths. So if I can turn this denominator into fourths, then that will help me out. So I'm going to turn this into something over 4. To turn 2 into 4, I times it by 2. That means I have to times the numerator by 2 as well. So in other words, 3 halves is the same as 6/4. So if I'm going to divide 15 fourths into groups of 6/4, get your red pen. Now we're going to circle groups of 6/4, or 1 1/2. Well, 4 is 1 whole and a half. Do you see my 6/4 size pieces in there? There's one group. Here's another group. 6/4 in a group. So I'm able to make 2 whole pieces, but then I have 3 pieces left over. So for my answer, I made 2 whole groups, but then I had 3 pieces left over. Now here's where the problem is. A lot of you are going to want to write 3/4. But do you remember that this was 2 groups? One whole complete group had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those pieces in it. So here I have 3 out of how many to make a whole unit? 6. So I have 3/6 left over. That is the same as 2 1/2. Do you see how I have half of what's left to make a whole group that I was trying to make? So 3 3/4 divided by 1 1/2 is equal to 2 1/2. We were able to make 2 groups, and then we still have half of another group. All right, just a reminder, when it is always best to convert them into improper fractions. Before calculating. Mixed numbers are only good for final answers. Okay, let's try this. Ella has 5 feet of ribbon. She needs to make pieces that are 1 1/3 feet long. How many pieces can she make from the ribbon she has? She has 5 feet, so I'm going to color all of these in with my yellow highlighter. 3 whole units, 4 whole feet, and 5 whole feet. So if I have 5 feet, but I want to cut it into 1 1/3 feet long, my equation would look like this. 5 divided by 1 1/3. Okay, remember this is only good for final answers, so let's make this improper. 5 over 1 divided by 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 more would be 4/3. So if I want to divide this up into thirds, so I can make groups of 4/3, let's go ahead in our picture and cut these all into thirds. So cut each one of these into 3 equal pieces. Get your red pen, and we want to make groups of 4/3. Now this right here, do you see how we've turned 5 over 1? I cut them all into thirds. So how many pieces do we have? Well, I times this by 3. I have 3 times as many pieces to make up 1 whole unit. Times this by 3. Do you see my 15 pieces? Takes 3 to make the whole unit now. And we're dividing it into groups of 4/3. So a group of 4/3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 whole set. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 whole sets. And then I have 1, 2, 3 pieces left over, but I can't make a whole set because I want 4 of those. So I was able to make 3 whole groups. And then I have 1, 2, 3 pieces left over, but it took how many to make the group I'm grouping it into? 4. So that means I have 3/4 of a group left. So 5 divided by 1 1/3 is equal to 3 3/4. So what does that mean? How many pieces can she make from the ribbon she has? She can make 3 3/4 pieces of ribbon. Okay, we got one more here. It says Nevin has 2 1/2 square yards of wallpaper. He cuts it into 4 equal pieces. How many square yards are in each piece? Okay, here I have a total, 2 1/2. I know how many groups we're going to divide it into. I'm dividing it into 4 equal groups. Okay, let's go ahead and color that in. So 2 1/2 means I'm going to shade in 2 whole units. And then I need to divide this one in half and shade 1/2 of it. Oh, I wrote this wrong over here. This is 2 1/2. Okay, remember mixed numbers are only good for final answers. So 2 1/2, I'm going to rewrite that as 5 halves. In my model, let's make 5 halves, so I'm going to cut this in half and this in half. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, 5 halves over here. And I want to divide it up into 4 groups. So if I want to divide it into 4 groups equally, if I just circle one of these pieces, I'm going to have a leftover one. So I'm going to divide this into something that's easier to divide into fourths. So if I divide this into fourths, if I divide each one of these into 4 pieces, so I'm going to divide this into fourths, this direction. Wait, yeah, fourth. So do you see my 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's divide this 4 ways this direction. Now I need 4 equal groups. Now what have I done to my fraction here? Instead of it being halves, I've now turned everything into 8 pieces. Okay, if I'd taken and made that an 8, that means it's been multiplied by 4. There are 4 times as many pieces as there were. I'm going to times this one by 4 as well. Be 20. Let's see if we have 20 pieces. Look at our drawing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's your 28s. Now I want to divide this up into 4 groups. Why was this nice? Because I can take 20 and I can split it into 4 groups. I know that I will be into a group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a second group. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a third group there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I made 4 complete groups because that's what I needed to. How is this different than this one over here? This told me how big each group was. This told me how many groups I'm making. So I had to make sure I had 4 equal groups. Now, dividing 28ths into 4 groups, put 5 pieces in each group, but it took 8 to make the whole unit. So each group has 5/8 of a whole unit in it. Okay, rate yourself on this concept, 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Take a picture and stick it on your Google Docs.